this should be a relatively short episode. Well, you can't get longer than last week, right?
True.
All right. Hey everybody, welcome to Granblue Radio. This is episode number 282. Um, Last week was all about the change to Keelan and how that affects the game. And this week we've actually, been able to play the game for a week in the post-Keelan world, and it didn't change for me. Did it change for you?
I only used one Keelan in first place, so
It did change for me, but okay, I adjusted. It's like, all right. Anyway, so let's get into it. So there were some undetailed changes to some raids that they made in the post Keelan world, and so let's go take a look at those changes to the raids. Da, 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 da. We already know about Summonless getting removed from like 8 fights, 9 if you count Pride of the Ascendant Cherub twice. So being it being able to summon in Belial has made it a pretty big raffle stop. It is.
I'm like this feels great.
It feels so good. I've been summoning Michael all the time in that thing. It's like, oh, just give me all of that meter. She's worth like 90 something meter to my water team. It's like, oh, it feels so good, DJ. She clears the debuff trial. Not debuff trial, dispel trial specifically. She
Yeah,
takes off
because
the
as
dot.
for light, we're always trying to cast our D spells, so having it on summon, it's pretty nice.
I mean, Vera can't help but just keep shooting off dispels when she CAs, right?
No, that doesn't trigger CAG.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the delays. I was talking about dispels.
I mean, what's to dispel in that fight?
There's specifically just the trial that says dispel on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's fair. But having it on something that does something else is really nice. And so it's like, hey, might as well just get this 100 meter out of there. But yeah, we've been like tossing around Sariels. Like Michael is out of jail. Um, Kaguya's are getting summoned. Like it's a new world. It's a new world, and I'm liking it.
It's great.
All right. So I haven't actually looked at the way that the raid drops have changed that much. I know that when you are in the Imperial Ascension, which is Ultimate Bahamut Normal, you're guaranteed a full meteorite now, and you can sometimes get two, which is
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, that's the host chest. Um, but yeah, uh, you're getting less fragments in normal treasure chests. You're getting more um, full meteorites again. So they're trying to just make it less of a chore to do these raids. Same thing with the heavenly horns from Zoe. Uh, the Omega fragments that we have like actual tens of thousands of are lower rates now.
Mm-hmm.
And then the regular version of the Dark Rapture, the regular Lucilius, um, once again you're gonna see more full bloods and less goop, and
I
less
mean, what do you use a small goop for again?
making making full bloods.
I understand. Have a nice day.
Well, they upped the amount of goop that you get and reduced the number of useless merits. That's the full thing. So once again you're just gonna need to do less of these things to get all of these host materials. So hooray! Now here's the
Woohoo!
actual things that they've done to the raids. Like they mentioned these, but they didn't. These are the details. So Lindworm now has some um, very easy open breaks. So Hound's Flame is 5 million skill damage.
That's pretty easy, yeah.
Spindleston is 10 million total damage. Divine Breath is 7 million skill damage, which is slightly harder. Um, Meteor is just 7 million CA damage. And Meteor Shower is 10 million CA damage.
Okay.
It doesn't change the fight that much. You just take less incidental damage over time. Like, I think, is it Meteor that does a lot of white damage, or is it Divine Breath? It's one of those where it's like eventually it could wear down a team if you were.
I mean, there was also the part that you couldn't cancel some of these.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, the fight's still just as long as before, so screw that fight, honestly.
I
on
join other people's. I
Yeah,
see on Raid Finder.
yep. Long live the king, Beelzebub. Uh, this has gotten a lot easier in a lot of ways because instead of faded chaining every like 3% or so,
With
um,
like 1 or 2 dots.
yeah. So just execution is 15 million damage total, which when you're just getting into hard mode is kind of difficult, but you can plan around it. Because doing things like hitting faded chain is 1.5 million of that damage on its own, and then you get the boosted damage to do other things. So pretty reasonable. Chaos Caliber is harder because you have to do the 36 hits again. So certain teams have a hard time doing that. Certain teams have an easy time doing that.
I totally forgot that Chaos Caliber can even happen more than once.
Yeah.
It's an overdrive one, right? Only?
I believe so. It's full dots and overdrive, if I remember right. I
Yeah, I
usually
keep
delay
bringing
it.
delay teams, so
Yeah, I usually delay it, so it's like okay, but it's still better having an option. And then Black Spear, um, which was the one that actually did get you killed most of the time. That one was Faded Chain. Um, Now it's land 6 debuffs. You can plan for this. Black Spear is an exact health trigger, so you can just save some debuffs for that part. You know?
I cheat that one. I put everyone dodge. Everyone takes one dodge pretty much.
Yeah. You can also. There's a lot of other things like Poseidon just ignores it if you have the Poseidon buff on, stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, skill 3. Yeah.
But landing 6 debuffs is way easier than having to do a Faded Chain right after doing another Faded Chain. So good. And then
The main thing that the Black Spirits did to you was the fact that afterwards was the thing that was going to kill you.
yes, the boar debuff where you just take a ton of extra damage and you can't block.
Defenseless, and then a big giant ball is going to come towards you afterwards because
Yeah,
you can't block, so you can't stop you from attacking.
right. And so the thing was that Black Spears was also annoying because if you got trance, since he got trance from it, he's not only doing extra damage from trance, but you're also defenseless, and so just normal kicks would kill you.
Also true. That is also true. Yeah, I
But
remember this.
but now you don't have to worry about it as much. You can plan around it a lot better. Then there's also Chaos Legion. It used to be also a Faded Chain right after, so like what felt like the intended pattern was to break either Black Spear or Chaos Legion. And if you broke Black Spear, then you would block Chaos Legion. And if you didn't break Black Spear, then you had to break the Chaos Legion or you would die.
And then suddenly he has a lot of health again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's deal 20 million damage, which is entirely reasonable if you've already gotten past 30% in that fight. So yay,
Yeah,
very
that's
good.
really good.
Yay, 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 yay. Um, but yeah, that's life after Keelan, DJ. It's, game's doing fine.
Yeah.
All right,
It's still not breakable yet, right?
which one?
Galen?
No, you still cannot break it because they want to make sure they're trying to track down every last Sunlight Stone, Uma Musume carrot, or cheeseburger that was used on a
I'm not
Keelan,
upgrading it. Yeah, that
and
makes
so
sense.
that when you break it, you get the material back. They have that flag for the Optimus Demi summons, but they didn't have it for Keelan, so I think they're going through all of their data and trying to make sure it's like, okay, this Keelan is the one that will give you Sunlight Stones back, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really hard to actually like keep track of every single thing. I'm amazed they do it.
I mean, in most cases, they're just like, yeah, anything that happened before this, it doesn't track your data. So, like we got a new function in the battle log, which is pretty useful for people who really like the number crunching, where you can go into a battle and you can just go, all right, I did 570 million damage to Osiris. Sure. 130 million of that was from skills. 40 million of it was from normal attacks. 360 million came from CAs. Oh, scroll down. Oh, look, it was a Kengo team. And oh, look, almost every single bit of that skill damage was Aglavale. Who would have thought?
You mean Greya doesn't have skill damage?
She has. She might have accidentally countered at some point. Nope, she didn't in
That's
this one.
not. I like how Juliet has skill damage because of her Newcastle CA.
hmm But yeah, this is useful. But they didn't track it before this patch came in, so you know. Um, but yeah, I like tracking down that kind of thing is a lot of work, especially when you want to make absolutely sure that no one complains when it comes through to them. But speaking of complaining, let's talk about trial raids, shall we?
Oh, I thought we were just talking about life in general.
I mean, yeah, that's true too.
Like, literally any posts I see, there's someone who's going to complain about something.
That's the nature of MMOs. I've been around in this space long enough that yeah,
That's the
like
nature of the internet.
also true. So, all right, let's go ahead and create a room. We're going to create a trial raid room. And the main thing that made people unhappy about this is the current restrictions. So let's create the room in trial mode. So in trial mode rooms, it's incompatible with repeating quests. I'm going to hit. So here's the help section on trials. So, trial raids. They don't consume AP. They don't consume EP. They don't consume treasure. They don't count toward the normal daily limit of how many times your quest is playable. They'll
All
also,
being keyword.
if you beat them, you don't get XP, you don't get rupee, any of the drop stuff. You don't get, trophies, no first time completion loot. You cannot back up, and so right now you have to do it in a group. You cannot do it solo. This is planned for the future. And you are set to 2 of them a day, including joining them. Just 2 total. So if you have used up all of your trials and you try to join someone else's, it will fail. It will not let you.
Mm-hmm.
So trial mode is one of those things that people looked at it and went, so who is this for? Especially since, let's go ahead and do this. The current hardest raid in the game, Rage of Super Ultimate Bahamut, is not available as a trial mode fight.
Is there a yet in that statement?
There is a yet. It will
There
be
you go.
playable at some time in the future, probably after like Diaspora and Diaspora's buddies have been out for a little while, because we've seen the goalposts move with the Ascendant Prayer, right? Where it's like you can do Ascendant Prayer on Ultimate Bahamut over here. Then you can
And it was
do
Lucilius.
Ascendant Prayer in Lucilius and in, I believe, is it Beelzebub. You can't do it in Belial yet. Maybe someday they'll add it to that. And so the raid in the game that people have the most problems with, the newest one, cannot be done in a trial. So people who were thinking about doing Super Ultimate Bahamut are like, what is this for? Who is this for? Have you thought about using this function at all, or are you just gonna? Because you can solo almost all of these raids that are here in
Like the only
trial
one
mode, right?
the only reason I would use it is to test out the ones that I'm failing in with my solos for.
Right,
The problem is that you can't solo yet. So
right. And so the classic way of trying out a solo is to ask someone who's not using their Belial host or their Beelzebub host to host for you, and you hold their hosting ability hostage for a while you do your thing, and they are there purely to host for you. And this does not change that until they do the update where you can actually run the solo and pick from your friends list as if it was a real raid. So
mm-hmm.
that's missing. So that part, it's not there yet. But yeah, like Sachi in chat is saying, I finally started preparing for my Blue Sea solo again because of this, because it's materialless practice. And then, so one thing that I'm going to be doing actually is I would like to talk a little bit about who this is for and why. And we're going to go back to the 2021 letter from the director on this one. And let me just blow this up a bit. So, last year, you may remember this, Fukuhara said that there is a big mental barrier to 6-player content. He didn't even necessarily call it endgame content.
I mean, we see that with like Kato Emery. She doesn't like to do the raids. She just likes to solo.
Mm-hmm. And so the 6-player limit itself is just a scary thing to people. Like as of last year, even Rose Queen intimidated people because it was just a 6-player thing. It's like, okay, Rose Queen's an 18-player raid now. And yeah, the 6 dragons are a 30-player, and the words that he used translated to English are like, I hope you see any of them in your raid list requesting backup. You'll hop in and try them out. And if you think to yourself, this isn't intimidating after all, maybe you try hosting them yourself. And this was for things that were, not even super cutting edge content at the time. Like I think Hail to the King was the newest raid as of that one.
I believe you're right.
And then like as of last year, we were still able to solo Beelzebub, like a lot of us. The tools were there.
It was sometimes easier to solo.
Right. And so the thing that I want people to keep in mind when talking about trial mode is that, like, this is not meant to cater to the cutting edge, the top 0.1% or however many people are trying who push Super Ultimate Bahamut. Progression in a game like this, you need to have those limited number of hosts per day for people to practice and then try and fail and fight and regroup the next day and do that kind of thing. Like Super Ultimate Bahamut took a couple of days to actually beat,
And it's like super doable, even post Keelan.
Mm-hmm. And the big thing that they want to do with this is make a lot of these raids less scary to people to just say, all right, try this. Here, you can do this. The part where you fail, like, here we go. It's like, our nerfs and adjustments aim to dispel the notion that I feel too nervous about wiping and making the raid fail. It's like, we've tried multiple ways to get the players to say, okay, I'll try it at least once. And so this is the latest iteration of that. Whether or not it's successful, but once again, like we're still missing pieces of it. So that part, I'm not going to try and defend or anything. But like this is their latest way of saying, hey, there's this raid content that is not the very top, but it's very doable for you because it's hard, but it's also like 2 or 3 years old. Like we've given you all sorts of tools to beat this. Right?
Yeah. I remember, like, wasn't there also another thing that they were trying to think of, giving you drops even if you fail?
They've been working on that for a year and a half now, and they're still not quite ready for it. Like as long as you joined and did something, then you will get some kind of drop.
Yeah, I feel like that one needs to be like scalable in order to be, and you have to find like the right spot, because otherwise you just have people join and not do anything, and then the raid kind of dies anyways because no one's playing.
Yeah. And so yeah, they tried to make an iteration where it's like you would do damage while dead, and they're like, this isn't feasible.
I never thought that was actually going to go through.
Yeah. But yeah, like this is the continued effort to try and make raid content less scary to people. And if you're in the type where it's just like I only want to try my solos, then yeah, it's not for you quite yet. Like, you still have to unfortunately kidnap a friend and be like, hey, can you host your Belial for me? I need to try something out. But yeah, um, that's kind of what I had to say about trial mode. Did you have any thoughts on it that weren't
Not
covered
really.
here? Okay.
I'm waiting for solo mode. So
hmm Yeah, solo mode's gonna be great. Like, I need to try so many things with fire solo and Beelzebub.
I need Fire Lucy and Wind Lucy. I'm actually close to Wind Lucy, to be honest.
hmm Yeah. Um, best co-op quality of life is the visuals on actual raids being yeah. It's like, hey, look, they're hosting a tomb in this thing. That's a good one to have. But anyway,
And sometimes there's not you can't understand our language because
mhm,
people play in Japanese or play in English.
yeah. All right. Um, then the next two things are going to be um very brief. So the character that we thought would never be recast because he has appeared multiple times and
And
has
never
not been
spoke.
voiced. Wait, why is it only showing female? Hello? It's because I was only filtering for female. There we go. So Alethea, 6 years after his voice actor passed away, is getting his 5-star this month. And he has a very 2016 kid. I remember using this character in 2016. He was fine.
Yeah, the game changed though. So
Yeah. And so there's like, the thing was that because his VA had passed away, we were just like, well, I guess Lucius is like their update to this kind of design. And Lucius is fun. You know, the just the update on the big nukes, reactivate your skills on CA, etc., etc.
yeah,
But
yeah, and you know what? You know what those nukes have? They have effects attached to them.
yeah, Alethea doesn't. So
Althea has nukes, so that's probably what they're gonna hit. To be honest.
yeah, they're gonna do a whole lot more with those nukes, and we'll see what happens. Um, I'm just excited that we're gonna get new content for that character because he's been noticeably missing, and not in the like disappeared dad way, but in the
You
the
have to write
actor
around
is.
his voice not being there.
Yeah, you write around him not being there. Like, he shows up in Ingve's 5-star with all the other old masters. He's
Yeah,
like a brief presence in Lucius's fates, and it felt honestly like a retirement for the character at the time. But it sounds like they're recasting him and doing a 5-star. So good job.
I wonder if we're gonna get High Priestess to come back.
Fujimura Ayami has been on hiatus for what, 3 years now? 4? It's
That
been
was
a
like
while.
2018 or 2019.
Yeah, it's one
I
of
know
three.
she's not in BB Tag,
Mm-hmm.
and that came out 28. Her character came out 2019.
Which one is she again?
9.
9? 9, that's right.
They don't have to replace her Yuzu lines.
Right. So, there's that. The other thing is that we do have Xenoclashes going on right now. Um, we have a couple of weapons that are tuned pretty well for hard content getting their 5-star. And so now they have hit points on them. Congratulations, Dante. You're even better for my Rising Force team in hard content now. Did you see the numbers, by the way? The CA updated on Dante's harp, and the
Oh,
thing
I
was
didn't see
already
it.
good. So it was already good, right? It was 30% stamina. Like, if you were at full health, it was 30% stamina, and it gives your team debuff success rate, like very useful things in hard content. Uh,
Hmm.
the number on the stamina max went to 45% with the 5-star CA.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Last Saravar is meant as a defensive, much more of a defensive weapon, and so the thing on that one, Earth Saber, it used to give, I think, 20% Earth attack. Now it's 25%. And you're like, yeah, all right.
I mean, that weapon's really good anyway, so
Yeah, you're not doing it for the earth attack, although the earth attack is really nice against hard content, which is most of the time neutral element. And so, if you're not specifically playing Grand Sandalphon, then this effect is very useful.
yeah,
But yeah,
I used this by Lucy solo actually recently.
yeah. But this is the second part: convert damage taken to water damage. You don't need to improve that; it's already great. Yeah, the earth attack and 5-star applies to the entire team.
Yeah, that's really
That makes
good.
sense. So it's one of those things that's nice, but it doesn't change the reason you're using this at all.
I mean, sometimes you just upgrade sideways.
Yeah, I have no problems with this being how these things were updated. Like I said, they're hard mode hit points. I'm okay with that. I should probably get a better AX on this thing than normal attack damage cap if I'm using this in hard modes. But that's neither here nor there. But that's it for this week. Like, that's what we got. Um, by this time next week, we will most likely have. By this time next week, Diaspora should be either out or will almost be out. That'll be interesting. That'll have new water weapons to come with it. We will. Let's see. Side Games Cup is later this month, right? Like the 2 weekends from now.
I
Side
think I
Games
don't
Cup
know.
Summer 2022.
'Cause we get to see the
Nope,
new
it's
stuff
in
they
July.
added.
It's in July.
Oh, it's
So
before Evo, so
it is before Evo. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see when they take the opportunity to make new GB versus announcements. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be a little bit quiet because we're gonna have Flash Gala. We're gonna have Diaspora coming out for people to progress on Earth. We'll see how they deal with Earth in a post-Keelan environment. Um,
and then that's when they released an Earth character, right?
are you, everybody's just huffing on that hopium every time.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Everybody knows what we're waiting for and talking about. It's just so funny. Like everybody's just huffing on that hope. It's like this is the time it happens, right? It's like I'm I'm glad that all the characters that I like have had recent enough versions that I'm not hungry. Akoshi's like Grand Yatima to fight Diaspora, please. That would be the most bait and switch. It would be great.
It will not be great. I no, no.
All right. So anyway, though, it'll be relatively light for the rest of the month. We'll talk about new characters. We'll talk about that new raid. We're hoping to do and set up for the next Granblue Fantasy Draft on the 23rd. So in 2 episodes, we'll have
We'll
our
find out who the
usual.
Bow Eternal is.
We're just that is going to be like depending on how many of us are in this call, like between 4 and 6 or so. That could be a big bloodbath. That's gonna be fun. I think we're also going to have to like really, really specify and go down to fine, um, like details on what the difference between a sword and a character and a katana character is.
Sometimes there's no difference.
Because we don't want the thing is that for our draft boards we want to make sure that there is no overlap between, which is why so many gun characters are being stolen by the bow screen because there's just no room for them.
There's a lot of gun characters.
Yeah. Anyway, see you for that, for the Home Sweet Moon rerun, for all that stuff. But like, short episode this week, 30 minutes. That's all we had to talk about. All right. So, yeah, we'll see you guys then. Maybe next week we'll spend some time talking about the Fest merchandise because that's some fun stuff.
Oh, I have not gone over that yet.
Oh, you have. Oh, we're gonna do exactly one thing right now, and we're gonna go to the plushes
Oh, I
because
know. I've seen that. I've already
yeah,
seen that.
yeah.
I've seen all the memes of that.
They're so good. Like they, it was Fest 2020 where they showed up on the art wall, and just like it took me a second to look at them and go, "That's the six dragons, but very derpy."
Yep, that was pretty funny.
And then they're just like, "Hey, we
More
have
merch
more art
now.
here." And they had merchandise on a cup first, and now let's go to the tape real quick before we do the full rundown. Here we go. So there's the Joy desk light. That one I know that I'm gonna have to order for someone. I know. Here's Wilness, the most plain looking of them. Here's Plush Whamdis, which is quietly terrifying.
Like, where's the boat? It's supposed to hit me with the giant boat.
Boat not included. I mean, Galleon doesn't come with a big island either, but it's so derpy. I love it. Look at this freaking chicken. It's just a fat chocobo. Sorry, chicken. It's a fat chicken. And then, DJ, you've played way more Kirby than me. Does Plush Fediel look like a Kirby boss to you?
Get back to me on that.
All right, we'll ask that next week when we look at the merchandise. But anyway, yeah, that's it for this week. I'm just gonna do some. I was just gonna say like taking some breaks.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna do work.
Okay. All right. Later, everybody. See you next week.
Later.